So here we have a basic Ionic application generated using the CLI. We have some ABC data here in the form of an object of the first item in a mock data array. In a live application, user data isn't going to be hard-coded into the files like this, it's going to be coming from your database, most of the time in the form of a promise or an observable. If you're using Angular and Firebase, and therefore a wrapper like RxFire or AngularFire, you'll be dealing with observables. An observable is like the door to a room which contains your data. It is like the many newsletters you can subscribe to on the web. Every email newsletter you receive would be a data emission. Sometimes the door to our room of data stays open once you open it. Every time the data in the room is updated or new data is generated, it spills out through the open door. Other times the door closes and changes to the data aren't known about until the door is reopened. In RxJS speak, doors that stay open and continually emit data represent what we call hot observables, and doors that close, cold observables. Observables are at the heart of RxJS. The way we access their data is through subscriptions. When we open the door to the room of data, we are subscribing to the data. When we close it, we are unsubscribing. Closing doors that stay open, or rather closing doors that don't automatically shut, is a critical concern in web applications, both for security and performance reasons. You may have heard of the term leaking. Essentially, it's when we leave the door open. The observable is not unsubscribed to and continues to emit data when it's not needed. This is obviously problematic when a user logs out and the data is not unsubscribed to. Likewise, it demands greater bandwidth and CPU if it's happening on a feature that the user has closed but the app hasn't. Furthermore, with most databases that you're not building yourself, there are charges for reads and writes. If, for instance, we have an ongoing subscription of the user's data in an Angular Firebase application, and the application is logging data at an extremely common rate, such as their location, for every change greater than 10 meters, then you're going to have a problem with this feature if you never disable it when the user logs out, or when the application closes. We'll look at how to deal with such instances later on. For now, we're going to create an observable using the mock data. The goal here is to emulate the response from your database, which in the case of Firebase would be an observable. Create a data property with a $sign suffix, which is good practice when working with observables to indicate that they're different from the usual data types. Then we set it to a new observable to which we pass a function. Next is called by the observer every time a change occurs to the data being observed. Whatever we pass to the next method is what the observer will emit. So we say here, on next, spit out the mock data. You can see here that there's many properties and methods available on the observer. The important ones are next, error, and complete. When the observer errors, for example, we could tell it to emit an informative string like error blah 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 ellipsis. For now, let's stick with the next method. Now in the constructor, we subscribe to the data by calling subscribe in the property and logging the result. Run Ionic serve and take a look at what we've got. So we've got the standard Ionic page and in the console our data object. Now that you know how to access observable data, you could plausibly stop right here and jump right into the development of your big idea. But there's much more to dip into with RxJS. They can save you time, money, performance, and therefore users, and perhaps most importantly, sanity. This starts with mapping data, which is the focus of our next video.